All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive.
And today...
We are going to be looking at quite a character.
Yes, we are.
Joe Girard.
Mm-hmm.
And now?
He wrote this book, How to Sell Anything to Anybody.
Right.
And it's really more than just a...
Sort of a sales book.
Yeah.
But he had this incredible life.
It is, yeah.
Like, seriously, movie material.
Absolutely. And you picked a good one because...
His story, I think, really resonates with the learners out there.
Yeah.
You know, because he really embodies that idea of overcoming adversity, using it to fuel your growth.
Yeah, and he did
some serious adversity.
He overcome.
His childhood was rough.
Oh, man.
Like, seriously rough.
Yeah, like to the point where he's...
running away from home, sleeping in boxcars.
Right, and you can just imagine...
The impact on his self-image,
Mm-hmm.
you know, with the father who constantly told him he'd never amount to anything.
Yeah.
That kind of negativity, it sticks with you.
Oh, yeah.
You internalize that.
Yeah.
And it becomes this sort of self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. And it's amazing to me.
How these early experiences really shape us.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They can really hold us back sometimes without us even realizing it.
Yeah, like those messages.
They just get ingrained.
Yeah.
And for Joe, you know.
It really came to a head when he was struggling to provide for his own family.
Very rock bottom.
Yeah.
Couldn't even put food on the table for his wife and kids.
And that.
I think where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's in that moment of desperation
Right.
that he's finally forced to confront those beliefs.
He had to.
He had to face those demons head on.
And he could have gone.
A lot of different ways with that, but
He chooses this path of selling Chevrolets.
of all things, you know.
Out of all the things.
Right. You'd think he'd run from anything.
That even resembled, you know.
Sales after that upbringing.
Right.
But no, he embraces it.
Yeah.
This is where his story really takes off.
Yeah.
Because
this is where he thrives.
he flips the script on what it means to be a salesman.
Exactly. He tears up the rule book.
Yeah.
And writes his own.
He had this whole different way of thinking about sales.
Oh, yeah. He threw out the rule book, right?
It's like he was allergic to being the stereotypical pushy car salesman.
Right. He knew instinctively that wasn't the way to win people over.
It's like he understood that.
Building actual relationships was the key.
100%. People crave authenticity. They can smell a phony a mile away.
And I think that's what drew me to this whole Girard's Law of 250 thing.
Right. It's not about some magic number.
Yeah. When I first heard about it, I was like, 250 what?
It's about understanding the power of influence, the ripple effect.
But how does that actually work, though? Like, you go to a funeral, you see 250 people, so what?
It's not about the funeral itself, right? It's the idea that each of those 250 people, they're connected to 250 more and so on.
So it's like this...
Web of connection.
It's like a network, a giant web. Yeah, and every interaction, every relationship you build, it sends out these ripples of influence.
Okay, I'm starting to get it, but let's be real for a second.
Most of us aren't selling cars here.
True enough.
So how do you actually use this law of 250 if you're, say, a freelancer or an artist?
It's all about leverage.
Think of it this way. Every person you connect with, even if they never buy a thing from you, they're still part of a network.
Right. And they might know someone who needs what you're offering.
Exactly. So by being genuine, by building those relationships, you're tapping into this vast network of potential connections.
So it's like instead of focusing on the immediate sale, you're playing the long game.
It's about building a network of trust, and that takes time.
Which kind of ironic because Joe wasn't exactly known for his patience.
Well, except when it came to nurturing those relationships, he knew that was where the real magic happened.
And he had this really interesting way of visualizing that whole process. He called it the Ferris wheel.
Ah, the Ferris wheel, a classic Joe Girardism.
Right, because at first glance, it's like, what does a carnival ride have to do with selling anything?
It's all about the analogy picture, a Ferris wheel, right? Not everyone's at the top, ready to hop off.
All right, some are just getting on, some are enjoying the view.
Precisely, and some are about to step off, ready to take action.
So is that like the sales pitch when they're at the top?
You could say that, but it's more than that. It's about recognizing that not everyone's ready to buy at the same time.
So how do you use this Ferris wheel thing then?
It's about keeping those relationships moving, keeping them warm, so to speak.
Like taking them for a spin.
Exactly. You stay on their radar, you offer value, you provide helpful information, and you keep them spinning on that Ferris wheel until they're ready to make a purchase.
Okay, so for our listeners out there, the ones who are saying, but I'm not a salesperson.
How can they actually put this Ferris wheel idea into practice?
It's incredibly versatile.
Yeah.
Let's say you're a freelance writer.
You connect with a potential client, they love your work, but they're not quite ready to sign a contract.
Okay.
The Ferris wheel reminds you to stay in touch, share a link to a recent article, offer some helpful advice related to their industry.
So you're not being pushy, you're just
Staying on their radar.
you're building that relationship so that when they are ready to take that leap, you're the first one they think of.
So it's not just about closing the deal, it's about what comes after.
It's about building those long-term relationships, and that, my friend, is something we can all learn from Joe Girard.
And that's what gets me about Joe Girard. Like, he understood the sale wasn't the end, it was just the start.
Oh yeah, he was
Yeah.
playing the long game for sure, building those relationships that last way beyond that initial transaction.
It's like he knew the real value wasn't in closing the deal, in what happened after.
Exactly. He understood that a happy customer is a walking, talking billboard for your business.
And he went above and beyond for his customers, like handwritten thank you notes, remembering birthdays, even stepping in to help if they had problems with their cars down the line.
He was known for that personalized touch. You know, in a world of form, letters, and mass emails, a handwritten note, it really stands out.
And it wasn't just about being nice, it was strategic, right? Like he knew that kind of personal attention, it creates loyalty.
Absolutely. People remember how you make them feel, and when you go the extra mile, they tell their friends, they tell their families.
It's like that saying, word of mouth is the best advertising.
It's the original marketing, and it's still the most effective.
I remember reading the story about one of Joe's customers who bought a real lemon of a car. I mean, this thing was constantly in the shop.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and most salespeople would have dodged that customer like the plague, but not Joe.
What did he do?
He personally intervened, worked with the service department, made sure the customer got taken care of.
Wow.
Yeah, and you can bet that customer told everyone they knew about how Joe went to bat for them.
See, that's what it's all about. Exceeding expectations, turning a potentially negative experience into a positive one.
And creating a customer for life in the process.
Exactly. And a brand advocate, someone who's going to sing your praises from the rooftops.
So for our learners out there, what's the takeaway? What can they learn from Joe Girard, even if they're not in sales? It's simple. Really treat people right. Go the extra mile, show them you care, and they'll reward you with their loyalty.
It's about building those genuine connections, the kind that make people feel valued and appreciated.
Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're selling cars or computers or consulting services. People want to do business with people they trust and like.
Joe Girard might have been a master salesman, but his legacy, it goes far beyond selling Chevrolets.
He taught us the power of human connection in a world that's increasingly impersonal.
And that's a lesson worth remembering no matter what field you're in.
Absolutely. And on that note, until next time, keep diving deep, keep learning, and keep building those meaningful connections because they're what really matters.
And that's a wrap on another deep dive. We'll see you next time.